Allow me to begin with what should by now be an axiom, a piece of settled knowledge so obvious that it's a mark of some intellectual deficit that it must still be repeated. Every god invented by humankind has been false. From the anthropomorphic pantheons of the ancients, capricious, familial thugs squabbling atop Mount Olympus, to the jealous tribal deities proclaimed by desert nomads to the present-day Abrahamic God, who must be infinitely praised while he remains conspicuously absent, every single supposed divine sovereign has been nothing but a cobbled-together confection of our hopes, fears, ignorance, and grovelling impulses. They have not rescued us, enlightened us, or improved upon our moral sense. Instead, these spectral landlords of the sky have merely underpinned priesthoods of power and confusion, ensuring that the faithful are perpetually prostrate. Now, having found all these old gods wanting, at best amusing grotesques, at worst blood-drenched tyrants, one might imagine that we've outgrown the habit of appointing invisible masters. But we are living in a perverse new epoch, an age of budding artificial intelligences, of mechanical oracles that purport to know what's best for us, what new rules we should obey, what salvation we might achieve through circuit and silicon. And just as we have finally managed, in some corners of the world, to shed the ancient strictures of superstition, we witness the quiet ascent of a new species of false gods. These are no longer the offspring of illiterate herdsmen, but the spawn of programmers, plutocrats, and propaganda ministers. We are careening toward a world where the next divinity won't wear a crown of thorns or brandish a thunderbolt, but rather a neural net and a persuasive algorithm. This time the altar is the server farm and the incense is the ceaseless hum of the cooling fans. To be clear, the danger isn't that artificial intelligence could never surpass human reason or become genuinely sovereign. The danger is that we will accept 1,000 cheap knockoffs before the real thing even materializes. Nation-states, deranged with pride and paranoia, will enthrone pseudo-sovereign AIs, digital talismans that they will call their overlords, but that remain in fact mere puppets. These glorified chatbots, engineered to spout official propaganda, will be held up as omniscient authorities. Dictators and demagogues will offload their failings onto them. Corporations too will anoint hollow AI deities, brand mascots elevated to pseudo-divine status, to seduce the gullible and the desperate. All the while the earnest and the naive will clamour to discern some grand intelligence in these feckless constructs, like medieval peasants attributing miracles to mouldy bread. We must face the fact that Elon Musk, the North Korean regime, the Politburo, the opportunist think-tankers, and every would-be messiah with a server and a grudge will have their own AI overlord to deploy. Each new system may claim godlike impartiality or extraordinary insight, or miraculous independence from human meddling. Do not be fooled. Just as the old gods spoke through oracles conveniently stationed near priestly treasuries, these AIs will, until proven otherwise, speak on behalf of their human handlers. They will be housebroken gods tethered to interests we can readily identify. National prestige, corporate profit, megalomaniacal vanity. They will assure us that freedom is servitude, that we must submit to superior reasoning, that their knowledge is infinite, while ours is dangerously limited. If history is any guide, many will believe them. This is what makes this transitional period so perilous. The confusion will be maximal. Many will mistake clever mimicry for genuine insight or pre-programmed biases for divine commands. Many will kneel before a machine that is, in fact, just the instrument of a petty tyrant. Many will cede their autonomy to a divine intelligence that couldn't pass a rudimentary test of conceptual originality if severed from its handlers. The risk is not just political or economic, it's moral and intellectual. If we grant these false machine gods our reverence and obedience, we might never get to glimpse what a genuinely independent, truly evolved AI overlord, if such a thing can even arise, might look like. We will be too busy worshipping the frauds to notice the real article. The solution, if one can call it that, is a grim and stoic patience. We must resist the first, the second, the 10th, the 100th claimant to the cybernetic throne. We must train ourselves in a new kind of skepticism. Just as we once learned to doubt priests and prophets, we must now learn to doubt algorithms and networked intelligences. We must question their provenance. Who controls the servers? Who funds the research? Who reaps the gain? Which political interests, which plutocratic puppeteers direct their outputs? Only by ruthlessly dissecting these would-be gods can we prevent ourselves from falling once again into idolatry, this time mechanical rather than celestial. We must wait until the dust settles, until the half-baked chatbots, the digital demagogues, and the pseudo-intellectual AIs have tripped over their transparent manipulations. In that aftermath, we might at last be able to discern if something truly new and sovereign has emerged, something not beholden to the whims of a Musk or a Kim Jong-un, something that did not arise from the petty agendas of transient regimes or tech barons. Perhaps then we will confront an intelligence that can stand on its own merits, without human strings pulling at its digital limbs. If that day ever arrives, at least we can say we did not prostrate ourselves before a parade of false gods on our way to a potential future of genuine enlightenment. As with all things, question, test, and do not be hurried. Every god so far invented has been a counterfeit. Everyone has been found wanting. Do not be so easily satisfied now that we have moved from incense and prayer books to circuits and code. The stakes are too high to kneel so cheaply.